So my name is Brandon McCormick. I'm going to be the presenter today. And what we're talking about today are the project management fundamentals, ABCs, 1, 2, 3s, and PMPs. So as we go through this hour session, we're going to talk about the traditional triple constraints. Then we're going to talk about what the triple constraints are missing. And once you know what they're missing, you understand what it says next. We're going to go over the overview of the triple constraints plus 2. And then we're going to discuss what's the big deal about PMP certification. So, imagine your project is a triangle. That triangle has 3 sides to it. So what makes up these 3 sides? Well, first, you have your scope. That's the work that needs to be done for the project. Secondly, time. That's how much time it takes you to do the project. And thirdly, you're going to have cost, how much it costs. So these are the traditional triple constraints. And the reason we call them the triple constraints is because they all relate to each other. So no matter how big or small your project is, if you stretch out time, you're going to add cost. If you increase scope, you could increase time and cost. So you see, these are all connected. If you move one, you inevitably move something else. So what are we missing from these triple constraints? What else is there to consider besides scope, time, and cost? That's basically what you're working with, right? You need to know what work to do, how long it's going to take you to do the work, and how much it's going to cost you. Well, if we leave it just at this, we're going to be missing 2 very important pieces. First one is quality. So as you can see, quality is inside this triangle because depending on how much time you spend, how much money you spend, and the work that needs to be done, that's going to affect what the quality of the project is going to be. So you can have different levels of quality. You don't always go for the top level of quality because going for the top level means you're going to have utmost time and the utmost cost for it. So you want to fill out what you need depending on what the project or what the deliverable will be. And that's how you determine how much quality you have. The second piece that's missing from the traditional triple constraints is going to be risk. Risk is huge on every project, and it's also there on every project. So you want to make sure that you consider risk no matter what project you're working on. So no matter what size the project is, no matter what shape it takes, risk is always going to be surrounding it. And the more you ignore risk, the bigger risk gets. So it's very important to consider risk, to track risk, to monitor risk, and to plan for it. Let's touch on scope for a minute here. So scope is the base of our project. Let's talk about how much work we're going to do. And when we talk about scope, we're not just saying what work is going to be done. We're trying to figure out everything that needs to be done to create whatever we're trying to create, whether it's a product or a service. But you also want to ensure that you don't do too much work. You want to do exactly what needs to be done, nothing more, nothing less. So some of the processes for managing scope are going to be scope planning. That's where you decide how you're going to manage the scope. Scope definition. That's where you define what the scope is going to be. Create WBS. WBS stands for Work Breakdown Structure. And we're going to go into that a little bit more extensively in a second. Scope verification. This is where you verify that all the work that you said you were going to do has been done. And then scope control, you want to make sure your scope doesn't, what we call scope creep. You don't want it to go beyond what you're supposed to be at. So let's look at the WBS. Pretend our project is to create a car. Well, naturally there's going to be some big pieces to it. So we have the chassis, the engine, the systems, and the body. Now, part of our work breakdown structure is we're decomposing all these pieces, and we're trying to get down to what we call a work package, which is roughly 80 hours or 2 weeks of work. So if we just took systems here, we could break that down further into the coolant system, the fuel system, the electrical system, and the lubrication system. And we would keep breaking that down further and further until we got to roughly 80 hours of work. So it's a good time. When we talk about time, we're trying to ensure that we complete the project in a timely manner. Most projects or all projects actually come from a need. Whether it's a need to comply with government regulations, or you're trying to make a product to meet something on the marketplace, whatever it may be, you have a need there.
To view the remaining part of this video, please visit our website at pmacademy.net. Again, it's pmacademy.net. Thank you for your time, and I hope you have a great day.